Dear friends, so this is the third session on this topic of team management, and in our earlier two sessions we discussed that teams are very important for achieving some bigger task, and we discussed that bigger task in this particular context is to publish paper in top ranking journals. Then we also discussed a 10-step process for developing effective teams, and we were discussing that particular step in our previous sessions, that how we need to have a common understanding about the goals. We need to develop team charter. After developing the team charter, we also need to have some kind of clear responsibilities for team leader and team members. We need to develop proper rules for team accountability. We need to develop a proper system of communication. We need to develop team leadership skills, because team leaders are very important in getting some kind of extraordinary results from your teams. And then finally, it is also very important to have a system of peer accountability. You need to understand that each member of team is responsible to each other member of the team. So this we discussed in our previous session. Now continuing the same discussion of effective development of team. So all these red colored points we have already covered in our previous session, and now in this particular session we are going to start our discussion from this sixth point, that is develop conflict resolution skills for team leaders and team members. So when I am talking of conflict resolution skills for team leaders and team members, it is because all humans are working in team, and human mind is a very complex phenomena. We have developed directions, goals for the team. We have developed clear roles and ground activities for the team members, team leaders. We have established a proper system of accountability for the performance of the team. We have developed team leadership skills. We have developed communication skills for team leaders and team members. But conflicts can still take place. There may be some time where individual ambitions start taking bigger stride than the common goal of the team, and when individual aspirations start becoming high, it is the time of conflict. So you need to have a proper conflict management skill also. When people are not able to understand that what are our common goals. For example, many a times in our political parties, we discuss in parliament large number of issues, but the common objective of all the parliamentarians in our country should be the service of the country, how to develop the country, the welfare of the citizen of the country. But many a times we all have experienced that individual aspirations, individual ambitions become so high, and that takes the primary stage, and the common objective of parliament becomes the secondary. So what should be the conflict management skill? That is a very important thing. It is in fact a part of second issue, that is establishing clear roles and ground rules. So this conflict resolution part is basically related to ground rules for the team. Now what do we do in this conflict management skill? Conflict occurs when a person's desires are frustrated or needs are threatened by another person. So when I feel that many a time the conflicts are not real, these are based on some perceptions many a time. So I am taking this particular assumption right in the beginning that conflicts rarely happen because of some actual issue. Most of the conflicts happen because of perception. Probably this person is going to take over my interest. Probably this person is going to do something which can do some kind of harm to my interest. So, we develop this type of perception, and because of these perceptions conflict happens. So, simple example can be sequence of authorship in a research paper. This is a very simple kind of a issue related to conflict. If like in most of the university, the first author and second author, this is a issue. In university A, the first author is supervisor, second author is researcher. In university B, the first author is researcher and second author is supervisor. Now, if some researcher is moving from university B system to university A system, it will create some kind of conflict, because here the supervisor will say, I will be the first author in the paper, you will be the second author. He has come from a system where researcher used to be the first author, supervisor used to be the second author. So, this will create some kind of now this researcher will feel that supervisor is threatening the interest of researcher, because in many cases we have different weightage for different number of authors. If 2 authors are there, 3 authors are there, first author will get maximum benefit, second author will get less benefit, third author will get further reduced benefit. So, the sequence of authorship for a paper can be a good example of conflict. So, that is one example we gave, but common causes of conflict in teams are limited resources, because we are not able to publish so many papers. If you are publishing so many papers, so in first few papers you are the first author, in later few papers I can be the first author. So, the conflict will be resolved, that I know that from this research we are going to publish 3 papers. So, 3 people are involved in that research. So, each one of us can be first author in one paper at least. But if only one paper is coming from that research, then it is going to create conflict. Who is going to be the first author? Incompatible goals. We all may have, our team formation is not very appropriate. We are not able to come to a common goal, and therefore, this incompatible goals can also create a problem of conflict. Role ambiguity, the second function we have not performed properly, where the role assignment, the ground rules need to be properly developed, and when this role ambiguity is there, it is going to result into a conflict. Different values, we give value to different thing. You are giving more value to technology transfer, I am giving more value to publication. So, this can be the difference of value, and therefore, again conflicts may come. Different perspectives, we all have different perceptions, we have a different way of thinking, and that may create again conflict. Communication problem, I am not able to make you understood that what I am thinking, and that is a communication problem. So, that also may result into a kind of conflict. And how people react to conflicts? People react to conflict in variety of ways, and this is very important to understand, that by competing, we compete, we start competition within the team. If you are writing a paper, I will also write a paper, and it weakens the entire structure of team. Because when we start working individually within the team, our output will not be of that stature, and that is a very, very dangerous situation, that when competition starts within the team members. Collaborating, I may start collaborating with somebody outside the team. that is also, or within teams there may be sub teams, within teams there may be sub teams. So, this is a team, this, so there may be one smaller team is this, another smaller team is this. So, within teams there may be smaller teams, collaborations. Avoiding, you are doing something A, B, C, D. So, now A is not in terms with D. So, there is no relation between A and D. That is avoiding. That is also not going to help the team. Accommodating, you start accepting others' view. You start accepting others' logic. And if you start accommodating, it is the philosophy for the team management, for the effective team management. If we understand what is the perception of other person, what is the perspective of other person, and when we start respecting those perspectives, it is going to help you in effective team management. Then another important issue is related to establish a well defined decision making process and empower team members. When we were talking of developing ground rules for the team, we discussed that we need to involve all the people in the development of ground rules. And this is also related to that very aspect. The best decisions come from involving the people who must carry them out. You need to involve all people, all team members, and then only you will have the best decisions. So, those who are going to have implementation of that particular rule, that particular concept, if you involve them in development of that decision, it is going to have a very smooth sailing later on. The decision making models for teams are objective approach and subjective approach. Objective approach is logical, orderly. Subjective approach is more intuitive and based on experience. So, these are the approaches which we follow for having more transparency, more accountability in the team working. Objective approach is preferred because it is logical, it is orderly, it is transparent, and it is based on facts and figures. While subjective approach is more intuitive and it is based on our individual's experience. So, we need to have more objective approach, but many a times because you do not have some data, you do not have any other information available to you, then you may go with subjective approach also, with your intuitions also. And what are the techniques for involving the team members where you can collaborate? These are brainstorming, nominal group techniques, quality circle. These are some of the techniques which are very effectively used for team discussions. And with the help of these team discussions, we are able to establish a positive team behavior. The positive team behavior is the most important measure of how good a game I played was, how much better I had made my teammates play. You are very skillful in playing a particular game, but when you are playing in a team, your skill is measured that how you are creating opportunity for your team members also to play with their maximum efficiency. So, in a team, we need to have this positive team behavior that I must create opportunity for showing excellence of my other team members also. So, when we say that a good captain, a good team leader, the meaning of that good captain, good team leader is only this, that I am creating that kind of environment in my team where my teammates can also play to the best of their performance. And these things are important in the teamwork, that you have to create selflessness in teamwork, give to other team members that kind of feeling in the teamwork, refuse to gossip, try to use your time very effectively only for the production activities, only for the value adding activities, not for non value adding activities. Avoid territorial behavior. This is particularly important in Indian context, because we have different types of you can say some kind of cultural issues, and in that territorial behavior is also a very important thing, that we create something like this is my personal property, and that territorial behavior is again not in the interest of the development of effective team. So, these particular issues are finally summarizing the effective team management for academic writing, that you need to have a kind of clear objective, then you need to create environment where your team members can also contribute effectively. You use your teams only for value adding activities, and try to create the environment where everybody can find a space for himself or herself. So, with this we come to end of third session on team management, and with this we complete our discussions on team management for effective academic writing. Thank you very much.